Hey guys. All right, so we thought we would play around a little bit here and have a fun little roundtable conversation in virtual reality. So you can pan your phone or computer or whatever you're looking at this on around, and if you really want a scary experience, you can put on some sort of VR headset and feel like you're right here with us. I don't know if that would be a good or a bad thing. As we sort of go through this, we're going to talk a little bit about ACL injuries. And we'll talk about some of the different stuff that we're finding with ACL injuries now and how we are going about treating them. And we'll try not to keep it too long. And hope you enjoy. So John will sort of start off here, and mostly because you're to my left. And we'll see, give me an idea, like what's the biggest thing you're finding in ACLs these days?
Biggest thing I'm finding is that they're even happening. When I was playing, I don't even think I remember any of my friends tearing their ACL or having any kind of issues with that. So that's definitely one of the...
You think that's because it was less common then, or you had less friends?
Well, I mean, there's more of us on a soccer team than there are on a crew boat, so...
Shell.
Sorry. So I think it's just because they were much less common. I really, don't even, can't even talk about that happening. So I also think one of the things is when I was playing soccer, I mean, I tried to play a few different sports. I was terrible at everything but soccer. So I kind of stuck to that like one sport athlete position, but we also didn't even do a lot of strengthening, but we took time off. And I think that's a big thing, that is different now than was back then, is that our team had time off. Even in the wintertime, we may have had a few tournaments, but we weren't practicing every week. I mean, I look at athletes now when they come in and I talk to them and their families about their training load and their schedules. And, in the winter, they're quote-unquote off-season, they're playing 4 days a week and then tournaments on the weekend. I think another big thing is just the availability. Like, we have all these domes that have popped up now, so the opportunity to play every weekend is there, so they're doing that. We were, at John Jay High School in the gym having practice. We would have to go to Rockland Community College for a tournament or down to Jersey, so they were fewer and far between. So I think overall, volume of playing and demands have increased all year round.
Yeah. Makes sense. What do you think, Ashley?
I think, so John's saying that they're happening more often, and when we look at statistics, it's about 2.4% for, the pediatric and adolescent population annually. So that's actually 2.4%. It doesn't seem like that much, but in regards to injury, it is. And like he's saying, we're not taking as much time off, but I think kids that are younger are a lot, parents are afraid to have their kids do any type of strength training or things like that, or they don't know how. So I think leading into the ACL prevention rehabilitation type idea for us, it's important to get people to understand how to properly train, take time off, get sleep, and not play 7 days a week. And I think it just goes back to the overplaying or not necessarily, or the single sport, specialization type thing. Kids are playing one sport a lot earlier on, and they're not doing different sports. So I remember when I was a kid, we were always outside playing different things, or hey, my friend's going to play softball today, I'm going to go with them, or basketball, or any of those. And now it's not happening as often. You see parents putting their kids on 3 different soccer teams so they can get better at soccer as fast as they can.
Yeah, I think it's also like you definitely, I find like I've seen a lot of people who either their parents don't let them do, other things, or they limit it, but also I think there's just a lot less of that like pick up sports mentality of like, hey, I'm going to go outside and invent a game or, play. I mean, I know like, my brother and sister and I would go outside and, we were not great at like basketball or roller hockey or any of these other things, but we would build a hockey net and we'd be running around. And so even if you're not playing other sports competitively and sort of varying what you're doing from a competitive environment, that sort of like pick up, I'm going to try other things and see what we're going to do. I mean, my poor parents, like my brother built a wiffle ball stadium in our backyard. That poor kid couldn't hit, he had a hole in his glove from go. So
at least it wasn't a motocross track.
Yeah, right.
That was my backyard.
In and of itself.
Yeah, right. That is a good thing.
You're still getting the the different movements and having fun and doing stuff. You don't have to put on a jersey or have a referee to.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of our strength training and just sort of like motor learning, movement learning, all that stuff came from that
I think
that idea.
Kids are outside a lot less now, depending on what they're doing. At least, I've lived with cousins who have younger kids, and I see them more in front of the TV or playing video games or stuff of that sort to kind of keep them intrigued, rather than going outside and say, hey, having an imagination. I think that has a lot to do with kind of development of motor control and motor skills, of which a lot of us are lacking. Like, if you watch some kids today and just watch them move, but even when we're younger, we're always developing. They're just not as in tune to themselves and their bodies, and they haven't learned how to move well, just because they're sitting stationary for a little bit longer.
Makes
And the
sense.
strength training part of it, like you said, you think parents are afraid to have their kids strength train. I definitely agree. I mean, I even still talk to some college coaches who don't want their athletes lifting because it's going to make them slower. So I think there still has to be a little bit more conversation about strength training, how good it is. But those who are, I think that there's more of these boutique gyms popping up, and more people have access to the training, and certain people are buying into that. But so why are we still seeing the increase go up, or the incidents go up? I think it's because they're still strength training the wrong way. Just because you're strength training doesn't necessarily mean you're doing all the right things. So, boot camp style classes are they're great for them in and of itself. But, for a multi-directional athlete, you really need to focus on certain key movements, which is what all the higher level coaches will, or strength coaches will say. So I think we're still seeing a little bit of that too, is, it's great that they're taking the next step, but we still need some more information to kind of steer them towards the proper channels and the right things to do.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think that's a good sort of first little roundtable chat here. We'll cut it off here, and then we'll come back and maybe chat about next time some of the things we're seeing from a rehab and post-op side. Because as much as we want to try and prevent these things from happening, people are still going to get hit in the side, and things you're going to have those contact injuries
Right,
and stuff.
yeah, you can't prevent them all.
It's inevitable.
Right.
Yeah, but if you guys have any questions, send them our way, and then we'll make that a topic of discussion